What's up, y'all? Figured I'd put out a video kind of explaining the rules of counterfeiting. You know, not that I condone it or no one should do it, but these are just kind of things that I learned from my mistakes or whatever. So, first of all, like, if, you know, in order to make high quality counterfeit bills, you have to, like, educate yourself, learn how, like, the Bureau of Engraving and Printing actually does it themselves, because essentially counterfeiting is, you know, just troubleshooting problems. So in order for you to kind of mimic a certain security feature or whatever, you have to pretty much understand how it's actually done. You know, so like, you'd be surprised what a couple weeks of just reading on the internet, you know, what you can come up with. Like, just dig deep, go down into Google. I've found actual memos published from the U.S. Secret Service of, like, current counterfeiting trends, where they kind of explain the techniques that they've discovered, you know, throughout their investigations or whatever. But yeah, just educating yourself, reading. I actually learned how to counterfeit the new Blue Notes, the 3D security ribbon, by finding a certain patent on Google Patents. You know, like, I was able to find Crane and Company's patent under Motion, which exactly described how they manufactured the 3D security ribbon, and from that I could find Chinese vendors online to buy similar products to replicate it. And with that being said, experimenting is, you know, super important. The majority of counterfeiting is just trial and error, experimenting, finding out what works, what doesn't work. You know, if you find even a little bit of potential in something, you can run with that and find another way to do it or whatever. Like, when I first started using certain makeups to make the color shifting pigments and stuff, I started out with nail polish, but that was really hard to apply, so then I ended up finding eyeshadows, and you know what I mean? You just have to experiment with different methods. I started out originally coating the bills with a matte, clear nail polish, but that I'd coat it with nail polish and then hit it with a toothbrush to give it some texture. But then from there, I found out that spraying a can of lacquer, spray can, worked much better. So you just have to kind of experiment with things, find out what works, what doesn't work, what works for you in, you know, your current situation, or however much money you have to invest in the counterfeiting process or whatever, you know what I mean? I had to kind of, as I went on and started making more money, I was able to invest in better, you know, equipment and products and stuff. And with that being said, you don't leave any paper trail. If you're ordering any, like, special products or anything, equipment from online, make sure you send it to an abandoned house or a P.O. box in someone else's name or whatever. You don't want any kind of paper trail leading any evidence back to you. So you have to be careful with what you buy and how you buy it, in relation to how you're making whatever counterfeit bills or checks or whatever you may be doing. As far as the manufacturing process goes, I would always disconnect from the internet as soon as I started editing images or printing images, because certain software and printer drivers can actually notify authorities if you attempt to edit or open or print certain digital files of currency. And, you know, the authorities, when they first suspect you're counterfeiting, the first thing they do is go through your trash cans down by the road to look for any evidence of counterfeiting, trimmings, you know, any kind of evidence. So I always made sure that I bagged up every single piece of trash, evidence, trimming, anything that could relate to counterfeiting. I always bagged it up separately and took that bag to a random gas station across town, threw it away in a public trash can, burned it, whatever. I never put evidence down by the road for the trash man to pick up. I mean, a lot of these things seem like they'd be common sense, but you'd be surprised. when I first started doing it, I used to just read newspaper articles of, other people, how they got caught, just all these different stories of counterfeiters throughout the country. And the majority of counterfeiters either got caught by, either just getting caught at the register because the bills look like shit, or it passed at the register, but the manager caught it, and then they just look on the video and get his license plate number, or they suspected he was counterfeiting. They went through his trash cans, got a warrant, searched his house, found equipment, or the more professional counterfeiters were set up by informants. And that's how I was eventually arrested, was I was set up by someone I was selling bills to in bulk. But either way, you'd think don't throw away evidence in the trash can is obvious, but a lot of people do it. I've read a lot of different newspaper articles of people that got caught that way. So also, when you're manufacturing, you always wear gloves. You don't want to get fingerprints on the finished product. I used to take super glue and coat my hands, because once the gloves, you start sweating and the gloves just are uncomfortable. But you should either wear like the latex or vinyl gloves, or coat your hands completely with like a silicone or a super glue or some kind of something that'll coat your fingerprints, so you can just have your hands and work and cut and do everything you need to do, but you don't leave any fingerprints on the bills. And also, when you're manufacturing, always change the serial numbers. Try to change every single one. That's like a major way that the Secret Service tracks counterfeit bills. Obviously, they do it by technique too. I mean, they can usually tell if one counterfeiter, just because they're changing the serial numbers, they can usually tell it's still the same counterfeiter based on the techniques they use, what kind of paper, what kind of printer, how they would replicate the color shifting ink. There's different ways that they track bills, but a main one is just by the serial numbers. Plus, you don't want to get caught at a store with 10 bills with the same serial number, because that's 100% guaranteed. Obviously, they're counterfeit. So yeah, just try to change as many serial numbers as you can. Learn what the numbers and letters mean, because they have meaning to them. You know what I mean? The little black numbers on the back of a bill, it's all in relation to where they were manufactured, and they all have meaning. So kind of learn that, change them up as you print them. You can make different templates. So you'd print like the background color or whatever, the black work, and then just have a separate template, a separate layer of the serial numbers, and you can just cut and paste and make 50 templates of different serial numbers, and then just print those as you go. So it mixes it up a little bit. So once you have counterfeit currency, once I had it, there was two options basically. You could either sell them to people or break them yourself. If you decide to sell them to people, obviously stay anonymous. Don't ever tell anyone your real name. Play fucking secret agent, man. Don't, lie to people. Don't. And a lot of people, like, they'll go by like street names or whatever, like, yo, my name is Money or whatever, you know what I mean? It's a better option to just, if my name's Jeff, just tell them my name is fucking John or Steve or something, you know what I mean? Just lie to people. Don't ever give anyone your real name. Always do business on burner phones, phones that aren't linked to your real name. Change the phone number frequently. I used to get a new phone like once a week, and I'd just message the people I wanted to continue doing business with. I'd message them from the new number and say, yo, it's whatever. But yeah, always try and mix it up. And I was like, if I was ever going back to my hotel room or my house where I had printers and stuff, I would always like go past it, make a U-turn, go past it again, make another U-turn, make sure I wasn't being followed, and then go, to where all my equipment was. Obviously, when you're selling bills to people, it's a red flag if anyone approaches you. If someone asks you for counterfeit currency, first of all, that's an error, because no one should know what you're doing that you don't already know, you know what I mean? But that's why I sold to a lot of drug dealers, was because I met people that were already doing dirt in the streets, committing crimes, but I could approach them then with the option to buy counterfeit money. So it just limits the possibility of someone trying to set you up, because you're approaching them. Don't ever do business with strangers, and don't ever let someone approach you unless they're highly, vouched for by someone you know or trust. And the second option of getting rid of bills is obviously breaking them in stores yourself. And like the main rule of breaking bills is travel around to different cities. Of course, I kind of fucked up with that. I spent a lot of money in Knoxville, and that's where I lived. But I'm like I said, this is just my experience. I'm explaining what I learned from my own mistakes. You should never really break bills in your own city. There was a bolo out for me, a be on the lookout, a picture of me and my wife, handed out to all the police, in the area, and there was my picture, you know what I mean? So you don't want that to happen in your hometown where people know you or where you live and go to the fucking grocery store and, So always travel around, go to different cities, drive fucking 5-10 hours, hit up a city, make 10-20 grand, drive to another city, try not to spend anything in your hometown. Traveling is very important. And when you hit up stores in a different city, you park far away, like real far away. I would park in like a residential neighborhood and walk far to like a shopping mall and just bust them down at a mall or a shopping center or whatever. Don't ever let a video camera get your car make or model, license plate number, anything like that. And when you go to these stores, say if you go to a city, you should try to only hit a store once and then go to another store. Because, eventually an armored car will pick up that cash drop, go take it to the bank, and they'll discover the bills were fake. Within, usually armored trucks hit up businesses once a week, sometimes twice a week, and you don't know what day of the week they do it. So try to only have like a 2-day window, 3-day window of hitting up these businesses. If the bills look really good, you can go back. If you're confident that they didn't discover the bills were fake. But eventually, after that armored car picks it up, pretty much all counterfeit bills will be discovered. So, really to play it safe, only go to a business once. If you're real confident that the bills look good, which I was, and I did this, but, I try not to go to a store for more than like a 2 or 3 day period, and then never go back. Because eventually they're going to be on the lookout for counterfeit currency, no matter how good the bills look. When you go into a store, dress properly, obviously. Cover your tattoos. Don't wear gold chains and this and that. Clean shaven. Don't look like a criminal. Don't look like a fucking drug addict. Whatever. Be presentable. And buy appropriate things. Like, I would always go in and buy diapers or wipes or buy a couple TV dinners or something. It's kind of sketchy to go in there and just buy, flat screens with a bunch of, you know what I'm saying? Just when I did buy Visa cards, prepaid Visa cards, I would always take a $1.99 birthday card with it. You know what I mean? It's an extra $1 or $2, and it kind of portrays a story, like you're buying a gift for someone. It's a $100 prepaid Visa card with a card that says "Happy Birthday, niece" or whatever. You know what I mean? It's the little things like that kind of tell a story. I guess it could all be in my head. You know what I mean? But I overthink things. But that's a good rule of thumb in my book. And also like kind of I used to disguise myself. I'd wear different shoes all the time. There are pictures of in my discovery of the video footage they did find me, and I'd grow out beards for like a few weeks, and then shave it, grow a goatee, shave it, change it up, grow my hair out, wear sunglasses, always try and look presentable. Don't wear a disguise that is obvious that you're trying to disguise. Don't go in with a hoodie and glasses, you know what I mean, that just looks sketchy. But just try and look different. Wear, different clothes, look like a construction worker one day, wear a polo the next day, kind of thing, just so it just kind of throws off any investigation that may be taking place. As far as picking cashiers, I'd always go to the opposite sex. So like, I'm a guy, when I went and broke bills, I'd go to a female cashier. the females that I sent in with my bills, I told them, go to male cashiers. Always try to go to younger cashiers, if you can. Older ones too, like really elderly or whatever, but like it's the middle-aged men that seem to be kind of assholes about it, or I don't know, but younger people and older people are the best cashiers to go to. Look for cashiers that look like they're fucking depressed or hate their job, don't want to be there, you know what I mean? Because they're more likely to accept the bill without checking, or, I mean, if, like, my bills passed all the tests. So, I mean, if you're real confident in how the bills look and how they pass all the tests and stuff, then use your judgment. But still, from my experience, you don't want to take an unnecessary risk. The bills look good, they pass all the tests, but I'd still rather go to an 18-year-old cashier that hates his job over a 40-year-old male cashier that's trying to make store manager. You know what I mean? So it's really important picking the cashiers that you go to. Always make eye contact when you walk up. Look them in the eyes and talk to them. Say, hey, how you doing today? You doing all right? You know what I mean? Keep talking, because it just distracts them. If you look someone in the eyes and start talking to them, it's their natural instinct to look you back in the eyes and continue talking to you. So, just basically be friendly, be confident. I would always ask them immediately, oh, I only have $100 bill. Can you break this? Because you don't want them to open their drawer and not have the change in there, so they have to go to customer service or call a manager to break the bill, to get a cash drop to the register or whatever. So ask them first, can you break this $100 bill? If they say no, I don't, I might be able to, then maybe just abort, buy it with real cash, whatever. But yeah, I'd always ask first if they could break it. And then once I handed them the bill, I would give them the exact change. So if it was like, if I was buying something for $20.34, I'd hand them the 100 and then immediately give them the 34 cents, because it kind of distracts them and they focus on counting the coins. And then after that point, they basically just mark it with a pen or hold it up and look for a strip or whatever. They don't really analyze it too much, because you're talking to them, you're looking in their eyes, you're giving them exact change, you're distracting them, you know what I mean? So, and yeah, like I said, be confident. If a problem does occur, I've had times to where I handed them a bill, they said, oh, I do have to go to customer service to break this, and they walked away with the $100 bill and went to customer service and were taking a while. You have to be patient, because if you just leave, if you get sketched out and paranoid and leave, then that looks bad. And not only does that, if they do suspect that the bill's fake, it'll be confirmed because you just dipped out without your money, but also they'll have the evidence. You never want them to keep the $100 bill if they suspect it's fake. 90% of the time, 99% of the time, if they think it's fake, they'll hand it back to you and say, I'm sorry, we can't accept this, and they'll give it back. And that's what you want in that scenario. You don't ever want them to keep the bill, because then they have you on camera trying to break the bill, and they have the evidence. So when the police do get there, they can prove that you were trying to break counterfeit bills. If they suspect it and give it back to you and you leave, then even if the police come, there's no evidence, because they don't have the bill to prove it was fake. They just have video footage of you, you know what I mean? So, and like I said, most of the time, even if they suspect the bill's fake, the customer's always right. They'll just deny you, give it back, whatever. You don't ever want to leave evidence behind. Unless, obviously, if they accept it and it hits the bank and this and that, but at that point, they don't know when the bill was passed, so they've got a week period of when they received this fake $100 bill, and you can't really go through a week's worth of footage from 10 different registers. I mean, that's just too many resources for authorities to employ to, investigate, really. Out of the roughly $800,000 that I spent, I think they had 12 video surveillance footage of me breaking bills. 12 out of like $800,000. So it's really hard to go back and look through camera footage and find this evidence, because like I said, an armored car comes once a week, So if they receive bills at the bank, they know they received this counterfeit bill within this week period. And that's just so much video footage and so many different registers to actually look through the video footage and find a certain person's face. I mean, it's just hard to do. So point being is you never want to leave the evidence there. If it passes at the register, you're good. Get your stuff, get your change, leave, all good. But you never want to leave evidence behind. So that's pretty much all the lessons I've learned doing this stuff for as long as I did. But I hope that helped. But I don't condone doing that. That's bad stuff. I went to prison for it. Don't recommend you doing it.